Everybody can be a doer. It has a doer inside him or her.
How you figure out good people? Is there a playbook with you to find good people?
एक कोई playbook नहीं है.
Will you let your startups sit on cash in bank and not scaling faster?
यार वो हमने खुद किया. Zomato did have access to that capital, but it made very good use of it.
We had this drive coming in, still at the age of 60. So with age is a number, right?
Brand बनता है over years and decades.
अगर मैं 50 से 70 लाख 1 करोड़ में खर्च करता हूँ और आगे मुझे 6 या 9 लाख की जॉब मिलती है, then any will be question.
So it's up to us really to get in good people and get the best out of them.
I went to that school system wherein more than why, it's about how.
A very important aspect of school education is the social experience.
When do you realize that अब scale कर सकते हो?
When you start making money.
Good morning. This is Saurabh, your host, someone who is trying to learn with you. And welcome on a podcast called The Living Pod by Saurabh. Today's guest is, I don't know how I him or define him because he's a stalwart. People say he's the father of startup. There are lots of common things which I am trying to learn from him. How he has studied marketplace, education, entrepreneurship, investments. So for me, it's a master class. So I hope, whatever I learned from him, is very, very valuable for each one of you. On that note, without taking much of time, good morning, sir. And
Good morning. How are you?
Very good, sir.
Thank you for calling me for this.
You asked me how am I? A bit of nerves.
That should not be.
But your aura is very intimidating. Is it with me or other also feel?
I don't have any aura. I'm a regular guy.
But still, is it the overall build-up by media? All the success you have attained. People, other feel the same, or it's like
I'm a regular guy, and you can talk to me normally, and it's fine.
Then and this is the theme. So the theme is it should be unscripted, real. And as I mentioned, for me, more than podcast, everything, it's the opportunity to meet you, learn from you, and in that process, if a good content, a good podcast comes up, it's a byproduct. So, if you want to introduce, which everyone knows, but you're looking younger, sir. I believe you're taking care of your health. You're looking very sharp. You want to introduce who you are at the age of 60 now?
Well, 61 actually.
61.
I'll be 62 next month.
Okay.
Well, who I am. So I'm an entrepreneur, co-founded a company called InfoEdge, which went on did many things, but eventually went on to found Naukri. And then the company founded Jeevan Sathi and like Nanekar and Shiksha. And then it began to invest in startups, and we've invested in maybe 120 startups till now, 2 of which are Zomato and Profitability. That's who we are.
So if someone asks me who I am, I say I'm a Buddha, I'm a dreamer, and I'm trying to figure out what I am here for.
I'm probably a doer. I do think, I do dream, but if I don't do, then there's no point.
Agree. And you're it seems, you're a man of few words. It's always been like this, or?
Yeah, I prefer to talk less. But having said that, when I'm asked a question, I do answer it.
Where this drive coming in, still at the age of 60. So with age is a number, right? But at 60, 61, you are still founding universities. We're still investing to startups.
No,
where's that drive coming?
I think it's about chasing good ideas and working with people.
What kind of people?
Whoever shares the idea, shares the ambition, believes in it, and wants to do it. Increasingly, I find myself working with people who are much younger than me as I get older. And I think younger people are more dynamic. They have more energy. They're able to carry it forward. So if you look at our team that does the investing, the oldest person is 37 years older. That's about 24 years younger than me. And they are the ones who are doing the stuff actually. I'm really guiding them here and then nudging them.
You mentioned young people, there's a perception that today's Gen Z, it's very, there are very two extremes. There are people who are like outliers, and there are people who are like probably privileged, and they have all the reasons for not to be a doer.
But actually, everybody can be a doer and has a doer inside him or her. And it's a question of finding the right cause, the right reason, the right people, the right surroundings. So it's up to us really to get in good people and get the best out of them.
You mentioned good people, right? But how you figure out good people? because you are investing into 120 startups, two is like thumping success, but and you've been investing, and your business into people, how do you, is there a playbook with you to find good
एक
people?
कोई playbook नहीं है, but after working for 39 years and meeting thousands of people along the way, I think you develop an instinct, you develop antennae, you develop some sort of mental map, pattern recognition, heuristics to figure somebody out. Right? Okay, is this the right person for this role, that role, this ambition? Is there an integrity issue here? Will this person be a team player, or will he put himself or herself before the organization and the effort? And yes, sometimes you get it wrong also. ऐसी बात नहीं है कि you always get it right, get it wrong also. But you learn and you move on.
It's real and skeptical, and and I can't, but I still try to put you on a spot. You mentioned that sometimes you go wrong, there's a news about, I can't name the, founder, even I can, but like third time offender, and there's a mental map, but how there are still some founders in this ecosystem who still figure out to do all kind of frauds, all kind of not so good things.
I think as more and more information spreads about them, people will get wiser. And it's not as if we are perfect. And we made a mistake, honest mistake. Yeah, but we thought it would be okay. It wasn't okay.
Is it also the other person also smart enough to find out your mentor matching patterns?
I think people are smart, and people can figure us out and say what buttons to press. Like that happens.
So so the theme about university living is, at least for this podcast, is live, learn, achieve, and stay happy, right? So there are a few segments of this podcast is about live, right? And learn, and let me start with learn. You just founded a university called Ashoka. It's been doing great.
I'm one of several dozen founders, but yes, I'm one of the founders.
What's your view on education overall?
Well, I think education is essential. It's something that lays the foundation for people's lives and their futures. School education will set your values and your work ethic. College education will maybe prepare you for higher education or for the workspace. So I think education is essential. Education is what gives you a start in life, and it stays with you throughout.
But there are people who are talking. I am still figuring out. Today's world, though I'm into part of education, real estate, and prop tech and ed tech, but I've been talking to students, and their students were like, "Why I need to go to college or school?" I mean, me and my wife is still discovering. We have a 5-year young daughter. Ideally, I want her to be home tutor, but practically, it's probably not that.
Why would you want to be home tutor?
Again, I'm just figuring out, as I mentioned. Idea is that, we have been in the education system, at least in school system. At least I went to the school system wherein more than why, it's about how. रात कर लो, रट लो, numbers आ जाते, then you are success. The people, at least I've been not questioned at that point in time. Due to which it took me to 30 years to figure out that it's just not about how much information you know, but the ability to ask questions, why, and then figure out.
Look, I'll tell you something. A very important aspect of school education is the social experience.
Agree.
But going to school, it's about being in your class, making friends, having relationships, studying together, doing projects together, maybe eating together, maybe going out together. And if you remove that aspect of it and just do home tutoring and say, listen, I'm not going to teach you, I'm going to teach you how and why and not what and when. You may or you may not, but if the child growing up loses out in the social experience, I think that is 90% of education.
Agree.
And therefore, I don't think homeschooling should be the preferred choice unless you have no other option.
But there are people, their parents, and we will also figure out on trying to question each other that, that social experiences can become from your swimming classes, your, gyms, and your sports activity.
I'm not so sure. I'm not sure that is substitute for schools. This concept of being with one group of other children for 5-6 hours a day, possibly post-school, possibly on weekends, because you will meet up your school friends on that weekend. Possibly going on some school trips together.
Right.
I don't think that can be substituted by having 20 people in the same swimming class.
The social bonding, the ties, the relationship will.
Look, I mean, some of my closest friends are people I met in class 1, 1969.
It form your personality.
I would say my friends did shape my, my school experience shaped my personality. My friends were an integral part of it.
And how about the college system?
I think, well, college is a natural extension of school, but without a good schooling experience, you generally don't get into a great college. So I think college is built on top of school.
You mentioned good schooling. How do you define good schooling?
I think the right kind of values, the right set of people who are there, the right work ethic.
So you're saying brand over good setup, because now schooling is also a big time,
I not
business.
mentioned brand. I'm saying it's for the
Good, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Brand, like good setup over brands. Because now there are schools which is like very, very commercial.
Brand banta hai over years and decades if you're running a school that provides a good experience to its students.
Right.
So brand is a consequence.
You said brand is a consequence, but there are also ways wherein people raise lots of funds, or probably they have resources, and then they start with like there's a natural way of building extension of brands. Another way is that they throw resources, they create the perception.
Well, you can throw resources, but if the people who are running are not of the highest caliber, then the outcomes may not be so good. So resources are important and they're useful, but they alone are not enough.
What's your take on domestic education and international education?
See, what you want is education that is most appropriate and right for you, and the best available to you given all the options. Right? It could be in India, it could be overseas. A lot will depend on A, आपके options क्या हैं, B, what your goals and objectives are. Right? Now, if you've got a choice of a great college in India and a great college overseas, but you want to continue to study or work in India after college, then an Indian college education may be better because that is rooted in the Indian context. It gives you the experience in India, where you build your networks in India, your alumni networks are in India, and all of this is useful in your career. On the other hand, if you wish to continue overseas, then a great college overseas gives you networks, job opportunities there. So, what is your goal and ambition? That matters. What are the options available to you? That matters.
Well said. Well said. Totally agree with you on this. In fact, and your one personal question. So you've been building in India and you have access to international locations. So why didn't you move to Silicon and prefer build in Delhi or Noida?
अब हम हैं इंडियन, अब इंडिया हमारा कस्टमर इंडिया में है, हमारा बेस इंडिया है, तो अब तो इंडिया में ही रहेंगे. So it never occurred to me that I should go to Silicon Valley to build for India. That's not logical.
Your audience in Indian, but what about Gulf countries? It's Indian people going there?
It's Indian people going there to start with, but you see, even Gulf ke liye, India is better to start from rather than Silicon Valley.
Right.
So Silicon Valley may be great in terms of technology, investments, you can learn something from that. But if your ambition is to build a business in India, for India, then it makes the most sense to build in India.
Most of the Indian startups and even the ecosystem is wherein we can build in India and we can build not only for India but for the world.
कहना आसान है, करना मुश्किल है.
I agree.
The risks involved, the cost of market access, the level of competition, the funding required, let's say, to tackle the US market are of a different order of magnitude as compared to India. There will be a local player there maybe who has better knowledge than you about the local market. You don't have that knowledge. There will be several issues. So,
right.
So building from India for the world, it's possible. कुछ लोगों ने किया हुआ, but वो mostly B2B है, B2C नहीं है.
I mean, just to give our example, and it's more like a not trying to pitch ourselves, but so when we started from India, and even we didn't start as a startup. We started like a gap hai, marketplace, there's a need, and I went to Nottingham, didn't get my housing, and that's why organic started. That's why my ex Twitter handle is Mr. Excellent CEO, right? And over a period we realized that India to the UK, India to Australia, India to Ireland to hai, right? But ऑटोमेटिकली इंडिया का एक्सटेंशन साउथ एशिया हो जाता है, साउथ एशिया का साउथ ईस्ट एशिया हो जाता है, एंड लोकल डोमेस्टिक
So
स्टूडेंट.
you work in concentric circles, but your starting point was India. Your customer was Indian.
Right.
You were solving that customer's problems in overseas universities. You had been to an overseas university yourself, so you knew the problem.
Right.
But you were close to your customer.
Right.
It's very important to be close to your customer.
Right. No, agree. In fact, we are the stage wherein there are people and we are also questioning कि India market तो अपने आप में बहुत बड़ा है. You know, why we are targeting, should we target international students going internationally, or we focus only on Indian students, you know, who are going abroad? That itself is a 10 billion market. But then there are challenges. The way Chinese students evolve, you know, their need, their price point are different. So that's a present of their business. In future, while the Indian students are evolving, they're spending more time on housing, they're starting early. In that paradox, what is your suggestion?
You have to adapt as you go along. Business is often done in incremental steps, right? So पहले आप Indian students किए in England because you know India,
Right.
and you studied in England.
Right.
Then you expanded Indian students in other geographies.
Right.
Now you're saying I can take students from other countries in those same geographies,
Right.
but the moment you say new country, new geography at the same time, that's a risk. So Indian students, I know them. UK geography, I know it. You had knowledge.
Right.
You had networks. You knew what problem had to be solved and how to solve it. Because
Right.
you had solved it for yourself.
Right.
Then you said Indian students, New Zealand,
Different
Australia,
destination.
or USA or Canada.
Right.
You are only changing one variable.
Destination.
If you change two variables at a time, it becomes risky. You change one variable, it's still a risk, but it's less of a risk.
Over a period of time, you realize that, you know, the business we are in is a cyclical business, you know, so there will be always political race, there will be always geopolitical race, you know. One day one government comes, they say, okay, you know, we don't want international students, you know. So in that case, I mean, this is our thesis that, you know, yes, it's always preferred to go deep in one market and go vertical, but then there's a cyclical, you know, race to it.
Right. Therefore, you go deep first.
Right.
You live with that risk. Once you have a competency there, then you go slightly wider. Add a second market, third market, a fourth market. In terms of the geographies that you will address from where students go to. Then you may add other geographies as a catchment area. So, ab ho raha hai ki in the US, we don't want Chinese students. Now, had you been based in China, sending Chinese students to the US,
Yeah.
you'd be in trouble.
Yeah.
So you obviously need diversification in the long run of sources of students and destinations where they go to. Dono chahiye.
Right.
Eventually.
Yeah.
You start with one and one.
How we define how long? How do you define a timeline? Because it's been 10 years.
There's been no specific timeline, but you will know that now I have mastered this. Now I can diversify a bit in terms of destinations or in terms of sources of students, or both. वो आपको पता चलेगा 5-7 साल में पता चलेगा.
Right. And being someone who have built multiple and invested multiple marketplaces, you know, why marketplaces are so close to you?
Because we understand it.
But कैसे start हुआ था?
Naukri is a marketplace. So even Naukri start कर लिया वो चल गई, then our propensity was, okay, let's look at more marketplaces. Jeevata is a marketplace, Mechanical marketplace, Zomato is a marketplace, Policy Bazaar marketplace,
yeah.
you know. So basically, we understand marketplaces. It's in our circle of competence. Therefore, we do more of it.
Tell me more about marketplace. Let's say it's someone like me or there's, and is it right to say the marketplace are easy to start but difficult to sustain and scale?
No, it's not easy to start. See, with marketplaces, you need to have both buyers and sellers.
Yeah.
Right? You have both source and supply, and you have both and demand. Supply, demand, now solving both at the same time is a challenge.
Yeah.
But if you don't do that, the marketplace fails.
Yeah, it's chicken egg. Yeah.
Right? So let's take Naukri. We said we have to have jobs to get traffic. But then we have to have traffic to get jobs.
Yeah.
And we had no money. How do you do it?
Right. Right.
You can't add present.
Right.
So we got a very simple jugaad. We उस समय print में बड़े सारे appointment आते थे. This is 97. We got all the newspapers and magazines around the country which carrier appointment ads. Used to get that in
Right.
office every day. And you would simply input those jobs. So it was an information service or a bulletin board कि सारे jobs यहाँ पे हैं. Moment you did that, traffic आ गया. Moment traffic आया,
Advertisers.
we began to
Monetize.
companies and say, why don't you send us a job directly
Right.
and and pay us for listing.
Right.
So that's how we do it. We got the supply first free of cost.
Yeah.
And that ended the demand. Demand aa gaya, we got our own supply.
Right.
Okay. Now, so that's how Naukri started. So you've got to solve this chicken and egg problem, and you got to get both simultaneously.
When do you realize that अब scale कर सकते हो?
When you start making money,
How much money?
to break even, we didn't have venture capital,
Right.
but we were breaking even. Then when you raise venture capital, we said now we can scale.
So if I see the pattern of marketplaces and Naukri and then Zomato, so Zomato was not profitable for longest time, but now we can say, everyone can, say that, oh, we know what we are building, in hindsight, it's an ecosystem we are building it up. And when the ecosystem, first marketplace, chicken and egg, when you create ecosystem, you put lots of resources to build that ecosystem, and then there's a network effect. So what's your take on Zomato, Policy Bazaar?
See, if you have to put together the whole ecosystem before you start, then it requires a lot of capital.
Yeah.
Right? And Zomato did have access to that capital, but it made very good use of it. And it therefore executed very well. And a very clear strategy, sharply defined strategy. And that's how it is market leader.
What are learnings, people can drive, and I personally can drive from Zomato when you say execution and, well use of capital?
Yeah, let me tell you, give you a simple example. So, COVID हो गई, COVID lockdown हो गया, restaurants are shut,
Right.
तो supply of food is down. Most delivery partners have gone back home to the hometowns and villages. So जहाँ 4 लाख थे, अब 1 लाख बचे हैं. So your ability to deliver is contracted, right? Demand तो हो जाएगी because people are sitting at home, like they have to eat,
Right.
And enough of them will want to eat from outside. Now so bit by bit, they opened up supply.
Cloud kitchens and
Not their own, but they spoke to, and they said, we'll get you demand, you don't worry. Just open up. So the government also helped by saying that food is an essential item. So food businesses don't have to be shut. They should be open. How will people eat otherwise? And the government passed a rule that even though the lockdown, if you're delivering essential stuff, you should be allowed out. And food is essential. Okay? But the local police guy did not understand it. So really, execution is about getting supply to open, getting the delivery boys to be there to deliver, and talking to each SHO and be it constable in every city of India with the government order and notification that our guy is through. Now that's not easy execute.
Yeah.
But ये सब किया उन्होंने. And that's how the company came back from the break.
Right. Agree. Because there are lots of plans which can draw, but plans will only be successful in the hindsight. I tell in team same thing that all the decisions are right, but you need to make those decisions correct. Otherwise, in hindsight, the strategy might be amazing. And as we say, execution eats strategy and breakfast. Any question you have for me, sir? While
So in a world that is deglobalizing, given the geopolitics, as countries get insular, do you see Indian students who want to go overseas, will they actually end up going overseas? Especially since as the new visa rules kick in, they will not have employment opportunities overseas.
No, totally agree. In fact, this is a question we've been battling from last 10 years, and every year I'm getting more convinced that there are 1,200 universities in India, and even the universities like Ashoka, Flames, Atlas, all great universities are coming in. But still, there are 1,200, 1,500 universities. There are 42 million Indian students. There is a status symbol. There is actually, people who want to. So I was talking to one of my nephew, or niece, probably a couple of weeks back, and she reached out to me कि चाचू मुझे बाहर पढ़ने जाना है. तो my question was same, पढ़ना क्यों है? ठीक है, इंडिया में क्यों नहीं पढ़ना? अच्छा, probably because she wanted to do a psychology honors and lots of university in India needs maths for that, and couple of universities she applied, best of university she didn't get through, so she like now what to do? I'm like okay, then undergrad करने को जाना है, you know आप post grad भी कर सकते हो, diploma भी कर सकते हो. Then she talk about like I can study psychology with economics in UK, preferred probably in not many other countries. I'm like okay, given. Then I was like but undergrad करने मत जाओ ना, आप post grad करने चले जाना. Even you come from a good family, you're still spending lots of money, right? So then I realized that today's generation, they have access to information, and people have access to finances. And as you mentioned, education is one of the greater investment, from the family in the child. So that's where people will continue to go abroad. Now coming back to your question about in the era of geopolitical race, deglobalization, even if you see now, the word is getting, we all know that word is austere. People are traveling, people are studying, like with all the NEP coming in, lots of international universities are setting up their base to de-risk them, right? But the question, the example I give it to my team, and I also what I'm making to believe myself. There were times when I used to come from Meerut to Indrapuram and take a bus to South Delhi. Then I was like, when I started working, then I started taking auto to CP, and then I started Uber. So there is still bus, there is still auto, there is still Uber. Whichever strata of society you will be, if you can afford international students, you will probably prefer. If you can't, there's still access to finances. If, as I mentioned, there's no success story wherein you can't study in India and be successful. So I believe even if deglobalization, the infrastructure is such that that people will continue to grow abroad, not in India, from all across.
But then they'll have to come back to India because they won't get a job there.
Right. So my
so one of the incentives going overseas is that many I'll get
right.
That door may be getting
absolutely
little hard to
absolutely. In fact, this is what I've been telling to all the ecosystem in that space. We all talking about बाहर जाओ and वहाँ पे आपका success story हो जाएगा. But why people are not talking about employability? In fact, one of the question I have for you, and this is being asked by one of your ex, friend or I can't name it, that is Naukri doing something for international students getting jobs in international market, or at least in India?
See, getting jobs in international market, let's say getting a job in England for somebody who's done college in England, I think that is something which is probably not part of Naukri's strategy or even for Quest, right? But to get a job in let's say in the Middle East for somebody who's already in the Middle East or wants to go from India, where Indian qualifications are accepted, that is more, in our sweet spot.
Totally. So that is a Naukri, right? But they're asking your same question and talk about employability and international education. So they are people who have changed not only their own life but their family, or even by large the society as large, wherein they have, if you see most of our politicians, most of our people are international graduates, whether they have gone to US or UK or wherever. So I firmly believe that even a emerging or a very developed market like India or China, they still continue to send their students abroad, probably because of learnings.
I think also because there are now enough people in India who have the financial ability to go to college overseas. I went to college 81 to 84. Unless you were wealthy, there was no way you could
not even think of.
So your options were in India. Your future was in India or Middle East or Africa, but after studying in India.
Right. No, I agree. Totally agree. In fact,
very few went overseas. And those who did mostly went for postgrad with a scholarship.
But now undergrad market is emerging. If you go to all your IB school, everything is going up. I mean, their curriculum is defined like that.
Well, the large mass of India is still not in those schools.
I mean, that India, Bharat, tier 1, that will still exist. But even, as I mentioned, even one of the reports we did for the same thing, how big is the market? 1.3 million students are going from India to the world. That is still a 10 billion market. If you talk about international market, there are 80 million students who get enrolled. Out of which 35 million are those students who are moving from intra-city to mobility. Let's say from Cardiff to London, within UK. Apart from UK to Europe or Australia to New Zealand. So there's in fact, coming on that point, how you see mobility? Because I believe I was reading this book, by Paris Khanna, Mobility. If you see even 10,000 years previously, we've been moving. Like you move from Prithviya to, probably in South Delhi. I moved from Delhi to India, from Meerut to Delhi, and then Nottingham, then back to India. So then mobility will always be there, and that is because of such of good job, good life.
See, I'll tell you, there are various barriers to mobility. One is, of course, financial, where you have to afford an education overseas, go for an education overseas. Second is the visa restrictions and rules.
Yeah.
Third is employment prospects. I mean, a number of companies will not look at students graduating from India.
Yeah.
Because they will not recognize, let's say, a Delhi University degree the way they would recognize a local degree.
So do you think anyone who want to settle abroad, they should not even think of postgrad? It will be better if they do their undergrad from abroad?
Not necessarily. I mean, Indian IT professionals with Indian qualifications are accepted worldwide.
हाँ, but chances नहीं बढ़ जाएंगे अगर अब जैसे आपने बोला कि अगर मैं यूके में पढ़ा हुआ हूँ,
It depends, boss. If you go to IIT in India,
but IT में 1% नहीं जा पाते हैं.
I'm just saying, go to a good college in India, get a good organization, good work experience, in, let's say, in programming, or technology, your employability globally increases substantially.
So that is for outliers. That's where the demand supply. I mean, as I mentioned, they are very good in. I mean, I'm a familiar with Indian education, right? Especially with NEP coming in, especially with TNE coming in, especially with such a progressive government now. IIMs are opening out across. There's still demand supply gap. 42 million students, 1,500 universities.
So I get it. But if you get a good university in India, in an area where Indians are accepted globally, good point. In the industry where Indians are accepted globally, Indian colleges are accepted. There, you don't have to go overseas if you get a good university in India, because your qualifications are globally accepted. Now, if you want to live abroad and settle abroad, then maybe education undergrad. But now with the restrictive visa rules coming in, like I said, that door may be closing, and therefore, actually, you should go for wherever you're getting great education for education. If you get employment, then
totally,
it's a
totally,
bonus. You're going for education.
Totally,
You're not going for employment.
Yeah, agree. Even I can't agree this with you more, because this is what we keep saying, that global mobility, there are two routes. One is immigration, one is education. If you're going to education, don't go with the mindset that you'll get a job. Go with the mindset you get a best of the education, you get a best of the network. If you get a job, great. If not, plan in such a way you come back, and then put those cultural learnings and all those international internalization of learning you have done in your Indian businesses or Indian context, and probably that you have an edge on others. But then वहाँ finances नहीं बैठ. अगर मैं 50 से 70 लाख 1 करोड़ रुपए खर्च करता हूँ और आगे मुझे 6 या 9 लाख की जॉब मिलती है, then anywhere we question. In fact, this is what I've been telling the all ecosystem, that how can we come together and build an ecosystem from aspiration to employability. Because if you see in international education, there are 18 touch points which can be monetized. So we are doing post-admission, housing, but there are people who are doing admission, there are people who are doing aspiration, learnings, SOPs. But if we all come together, and if people are sure that, okay, their finances have been met, they are the finances, if they get a good accommodation, if they end up getting a good job, this study abroad or this international education will continue to thrive. Otherwise, people will start questioning. Other way you are questioning. I question the same thing, that जाने क्यों है?
जाना इसलिए है because if that's the best college you got into and can afford to pay and to finance an education, knowing fully well you may not get a job there.
Did your daughter go abroad?
Yes, my son also did. They both came back, but they were clear from the beginning they're coming back. So they said, we'll go for the best college that we get into, wherever in the world, but we're coming back. Our future is in India.
They're very clear. You were probably very clear, but I would say 90%.
But I would say they were fortunate that they did not have to
think about the finances.
Take a loan which they had to repay by working overseas.
Where did they study maths?
My daughter did her undergrad from Columbia University. Then she came back and worked in the not-for-profit sector for 3 years. Then she went to Stanford to do her MBA. And now she's back and she's doing her own startup in the area of sustainable fashion.
Oh, very interesting. And about your son?
My son went and studied at University of Chicago, undergrad. He came back and is a journalist.
And they didn't join or intend to be part of
No,
the big
it's not a family company. It's a professional company. Although both are professionally qualified.
Yeah,
Both
that's
are well
what-
qualified,
yeah.
but you know, I mean,
They're young and they're still figuring
well,
out.
let me put it this way: that the fact that they are my children should not give them an undue advantage in the company.
In fact, there's another thing. People feel about nepotism and all these things. There's a minus of this. When your dad is Mr. Sanjeev Bikhchandani, they will also get scrutinized just because of their kid.
Well, I think they both are in organizations which are professional.
Right.
One is, of course, doing their own startup, and which family they are from does not make a difference
Right.
in their
It
organization.
should not. Yes. It should not. Absolutely.
And I'm glad they're in those kind of organizations. Okay. As far as InfoEdge is concerned, look, the expectation of everybody in the company is that they all have an equal chance.
Very interesting. I will go deeper in this. It seemed that it was very tough for your kids to convince you to go abroad. Was it, or it was?
To go abroad for studies?
Yeah.
Not at all.
Not at all.
Not at all.
Then you question that why you're going, if you want to come back.
No. I in fact encourage them to go to the best place in the world they can get admission to. If that is in India, fantastic. If that's overseas, no problem.
And how one define that that's the best college for them?
They decided that. That's
The research.
but they decided.
Oh. Right. But you didn't counsel. They didn't come to you. They didn't counsel with you.
Well, of course they did. But you see, उस समय अशोका चालू नहीं हुआ था when my daughter went. And what I liked about the US colleges was that the US colleges gave you width in the first 2 years and then depth, your major. Which means you can study 10 or 12 subjects in your first 2 years and then decide what to major in.
Very interesting.
And I found that to be a useful and interesting system as opposed to the UK system, which was what India has inherited. Pick one subject and study it. You don't get width.
Right. I mean, and in fact, totally agree. I have a UK, graduate, and most of my students are UK, Europe, but I agree but you know what? Why it's still successful? People want to go abroad, but they want to pay 1 year. They want to just go, have exposure, come back, और सबको ना शॉर्टकट चाहिए कि 1 साल में गए, वहाँ गए, सेटल हो गए और यूके में हमारी लाइफ बन गई.
So employment overseas was not the objective of my children. They were clear they were coming back.
तो डाउट नहीं हुआ जाके कि पापा मुझे नहीं आना इंडिया में यार वहाँ पे,
No, they were absolutely clear they're coming back.
because of your value system, communication.
I think their own value system. They said हमको इंडिया वापस आना है, यहाँ पे जो करना है.
Why you're so in love with India as a country?
Yeah, because
You can move anywhere.
no,
You can build anywhere.
yeah, but India is great because it's ours.
In this era of global citizen, so I am in love with India, but I see as much as a global citizen, and I see as much as a capitalist who want to create value, whatever I'm doing it. आपने बोला India is ours, right? This been probably you've been learned it, you've been taught, but उससे भी पहले, and if I go, and take this again liberty to challenge you again, sorry about that, but उससे पहले हम एक ग्लोबल सिटीजन ना, इंडिया की डिफाइन तो जब वो हमने पैदा हुए, बट अगर मैं स्पिरिचुअल होकर बोलूँ, that this word is it's for everyone, and you can move anywhere and create value and still be more close to one nationality.
But उसके बावजूद India is ours.
I agree.
So that's right. This is where we are. This is why I'm here.
You want to go deep on this?
Sure. Look, it's who I am. It's where I belong. It's where I feel connected to. It's where I want to build, and it's where I want to contribute back. See, at the end of the day, I believe we owe. We owe whom, and why do we owe? See, somebody sometime has paid taxes that gave me a state subsidized education system. And because I got admission to the college that I did, and I did not pay full price, somebody else didn't get that seat. And if that education has, say Stephen's College, IMM has given me a leg up in my career, which it has,
Right.
then somewhere I have to give back. And I can give back best if I stay here. Also, India has got a bright future. I have got a bright future if I stay in India.
Totally agree. On that, yeah.
मेरा future भी ठीक है. I'm able to give back also more. I feel more connected. और international shareholder ऐसी बात नहीं है. We're listed in India, but India is capital market is open to the rest of the world. कोई भी आके हमारा शेयर खरीद सकता है, बेच सकता है, वो करते हैं लोग.
It was designed because at that point in time there was no access to international market or less access to international market versus now.
Also, your life is less complicated if you are dealing with in India with local laws.
Yeah, you understand that.
Local regulators.
Yeah.
But you make your life less complicated.
But you suggested one of your portfolio company or one of your good friend to list in US.
No, I did not.
I'm talking about Mr. Kalra. I mean,
but actually, he didn't have much of a choice in those days. So 2010 में, it was very difficult for a loss-making company to list in India. And that's at that time, Micromanagement was making a loss. Now it's highly profitable.
Very, very, interesting aspect here. So we talk about education, we talk about globalization, right? And did I answer your question, sir?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Leadership, so again, the kind of respect, the kind of love you get from your people. And this is not because I'm the podcast talking to you, have hosting me, I'm saying it. My team have spoken with lots of people who have worked with you, but they're still working or now they're not part of InfoEdge or one of your portfolio companies. There's always, respect for sure and mostly love. People say that you stick with your value system. I was talking to one of your peer group, who've been hosting, and he was like, it's amazing to work with you. Where that value system, leadership, the correctness coming from. And it's not easy running a startup. It's not easy when you are building it up without money, I
think my parents, my school, my college, my business school, my professors, my teachers, my classmates, my colleagues and former colleagues. It's from various people.
Is it luck or is it design? Because parents luck.
It is luck. I didn't decide which school I go to. My parents said, "Jao."
Right.
In class 1. मैं गया वहाँ पे. उसके बाद, which college and which business school, I was a more independent choice of mine. But जो स्कूल में होता है 12 साल,
बहुत important.
वो मतलब कि
that can shape you. Yeah, that can shape you or break you.
That's right.
But then जब स्कूल में जाते हैं, and parents तो best school में भेजते हैं, whatever they believe is best school as per their money, understanding.
Yeah, it's also access. School admission मिलना आसान नहीं है. It's also lottery.
Right. But school में आप चले गए. जैसे I study from one of the best school in Meerut, and I'm so in depth with
school it is?
The St. Mary's.
St. Mary's, I've heard a lot about it. In fact, a couple of friends of mine are from there.
Right. So one of the reasons I've been doing okay in life because the school I went, which was a factor of luck or hard work of parents who sent. But उस school में भी बहुत सारे लोग ऐसे भी हैं जो probably have not done well, not successful, not money wise, but
देखो diversity और divergence होता है school में और school के बाद. But at that stage, a lot will depend on the luck, certainly, circumstance, certainly, but a lot on your own effort. Right? तो आपने पढ़ाई की, इसलिए आपको जिस कॉलेज में गए एडमिशन मिली. तो पढ़ाई करना, partly maybe your parents encouraging you, partly your school, partly your teachers, partly your peers.
Yeah.
But a lot of it is your own effort, right?
Right.
And that gets you to a college. So this life moves in steps. And increasingly as you go along, you have more and more influence through your own efforts. So your own effort on which doors will open, which doors will not open.
I have so many questions, sir. I hope I'm not putting on. I know you will navigate anything, everything. So, I'm taking the liberty to ask you everything which is coming on my mind.
Sure.
So, few of my question is on leadership. That's what I started with. Lots of love, respect you gain because of, as you're saying, your value system. And value system get challenged every now and then. COVID was one. So many, and up to like आपने तो सारे ही meltdown सब देखे हैं. Any incident or anecdote you want to share when your value system was tested to the T, you were at the verge of giving it up?
No, I'll tell you. You see, we are very fortunate. Well, fortune to have, but I think our people, our team, everybody has worked very hard and smart to build such a great product offering that our customers want it. And they pay us the price we ask, and they pay us in advance, right? Which gives us enough cash surplus. And so there's enough money in the bank always. Now, money in the bank
Superpower.
enables you to take decisions that you would not have taken otherwise. मैं आपको 2 उदाहरण देता हूँ. एक तो 2008-9 में global financial crisis आया. There were 2 quarters in a row when Naukri sales grew minus 26% YOY. Degrowth हुआ. Right? Now, if we didn't have the cash balance we had, we would immediately downsize and sack people. What we knew was that there's no, if you sack people at this time, उनको नौकरी नहीं मिलनी, economy is down, right? And there was pressure on us to sack people. We are now a listed company. Degrowth हो रहा है, profit down जा रहे हैं. We're still profitable, but profit down जा रहे हैं, right? And the board was saying, downsize, and we were saying, no. These are our own people. Don't let them go. They'll never get jobs. This is the wrong time to sack people. तो 2 quarter हमने खींच लिया. 3rd quarter board said, अब तो हो गया, अब तो downsize. तो हमने board से compromise किया. हमने बोला ठीक है, give us 6 months and give us a target number of headcount. तो उस समय हमारी कंपनी 1800 लोग थे. तो they said 1400 कर लो. We said 6 महीने हो जाएगा. We still did not sack people. We simply
About the time.
We simply said no replacements. Anybody leaves, you cannot hire. You can do internal transfers. Right? Now, we are a young company, average age 26, 55% women. Our salespeople, they sell you HR managers. They constantly get job offers. So, girls get married, husband different town, they shift to that town.
Right.
Right? So we had natural attrition. So purely by not replacing, we went down to 1400 in 6 months. We did not have blood on our hands. We did not sack people. Now, we could not have taken that call if we did not have cash. So it is a value system.
Right.
अगर पैसा नहीं होता ना,
हाँ.
we have to go against what we wanted to do and actually sack people. So it's important to build such a great product that you can make the kind of profits and keep the kind of cash that enables you to do the right thing. ये फिर हुआ 2020 में. कोविड का लॉकडाउन हुआ March 24th, 2020. April-June quarter, Naukri sales billings degrew 44%, minus 44% YOY. A lot of tension, people sitting at home, nobody knows what to do, no light at the end of the tunnel. You don't know कब खत्म होगा, you don't know growth कब आएगी, you don't know, there's no cure, there's no vaccine, there's no treatment protocol. It's still evolving. A lot of pressure to downsize because you've got to make your money last.
Right.
But if you, as the people are tense, they're going crazy about COVID. ऊपर से आपको नौकरी निकाल दोगे, तो तनख्वाह नहीं मिलेगी. They go completely crazy. It's the wrong time to do it. It's unethical. Right. So we asked our CFO. We had cash in the bank because we were highly profitable. Margin ठीक थे. We asked a question कि अगर sales goes to zero, which is, and marketing expenditure is zero, और हमने increment is zero, how long can we last even the cash balance available? And he came back after 2 days, it's 3 साल चलेंगे. So then we said, यार अभी तो downsize नहीं करो, देखेंगे बाद में. And we did not downsize. Within 6 months, market came back. So again, it's because we had that product that had that margin, that had that customer pull, and the demand and the need that gave us the profit and the cash flows, and the balance in the bank to do the right thing. And therefore, it did not come to a point where our values would get compromised in order to survive.
So true. I mean, I can, there's a goosebumps and I can relate a bit, not the quantum. Because in pandemic, again, we are an anti-COVID story, right? People will not go abroad. Why will they need a housing? So we have no clue what will happen. We are 70 people team, and I went to my co-founder. We spoke with all the 70 people. There were only 2 people, one intern and one product guy who questioned that, आपको पता नहीं था ये होने वाला है, आपने prepare नहीं किया, नहीं पता था. And then we didn't had to fire anyone because team agreed for a cuts, right? And same, 26 years, 27 is my average, 60% is a female, So it's मेरे को ऐसा लग रहा है मैं आपसे बिल्कुल live master class ले रहा हूँ, but आपने एक चीज़ और बोली that there was money in bank, right? You are an investor also, right? Will you let your startups sit on cash in bank and not scaling faster?
यार वो हमने खुद किया कि we kept cash in the bank and we could have scaled faster, but we wanted to scale profitably. So we kind of married to profit. We want growth, but we want profitable growth.
And कैसे define करते हैं कि 30% growth profitable अच्छा है कि 50% growth with 5% EBITDA अच्छा है?
I think we are driven by competition, by market share, by what the customer is saying, by what the right strategy demands. So it's not that we can't make a loss. We have made losses in the past in several of our businesses.
But that's a conscious choice. Probably, that's an investment into...
That's right.
Yeah.
So yes, I mean, several of our startups got cash in the banks. And we let that judgment sit with the founder and we don't second guess.
What is your leadership style?
Yeah, I don't know what leadership styles are, but generally we like to be good with people. We like to be strategic. We are risk averse. We like to keep a significant cash cushion in the bank. We prefer to stay really close to our customers and understand them very well.
Are you a micromanager?
I can be, and I'm sure I have been, and sometimes I'm not. So I'm not consistent. कभी मैं हूँ, कभी नहीं.
As a founder, because again I can relate to this, and in my journey I just started, same, I believe, I want not to be micromanager, but then I see that if I don't push, probably mediocrity, and not with everyone, but few departments, with few leaders and few people, right? I'm feeling like a validation from you that I've been inconsistent with your leadership, because also it's all dependent on demand and people you work.
Yeah, nobody is 100% consistent. You're not the same every day, or even every hour of the day.
Right,
You're all human. So I cannot say I'm consistent always, but it's not for me to judge myself. I think others will judge me, okay, and because they're seeing me from outside. And it's important that you're open to feedback.
You mentioned close to customer to create a great product.
That's right.
Do you still make, not now, but for the longest time you were making calls, going on the cold calls?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And not just me, Hitesh, everybody was doing it.
Tell me what about the team, sir? Your management team, lots have been spoken, lots have you been shared, but still if you want to...
I think the oldest senior person is Hitesh, who joined us in the year 2000 before we did venture capital. He's a co-promoter, he's a managing director, and his contribution to the company has been as much as mine, if not more. मेरे को public में credit ज़्यादा मिलता है, okay, but Hitesh's contribution.
ये conscious choice था कि एक founder
नहीं था
कि they say that there should be one face to the company.
No, ये कोई conscious choice नहीं था. It is
the startings and
not percent. It just happened that.
Okay.
It happened that way.
Right.
शायद मैं कहानी अच्छी बोलता हूँ तो लोग मुझसे बात करते हैं.
आएगी इस वाले पॉइंट पे भी. how important for a founder to be a storyteller or a doer or a thinker. But we are talking about your management team. So Hitesh, and see, more than names, I want to understand how you build that core, leadership team.
I think when you see somebody who's you think is really good, it's important to chase them, get them, and keep them. So, for example, our head of HR, Sharmeen Khalid, now she was a client, right? But her based out of Noida, but her company was moving to Gurgaon, but she lived in East Delhi and the children's schooling was in East Delhi. So she wasn't keen to shift. So she came and joined us. And then she stayed. And I knew her because I met CS Faldana. Right? Our CFO, the first one, friend of a friend. He took a VRS in Bank of America. I told him he'd join us. And he stayed for 12 years, 13 years. Current one, he joined us. He came through our independent directors. If you look at our independent directors, we were going to go public in 2005, in 2006. So 2005 में हमको board restructure करना था. So I used my personal network to get all independent directors on the board. 3-4 हम लाए.
So वहाँ से core.
I think a lot of it is your personal networking and.
Yeah. Right. No, I agree. Because if you get into money mode, then you will get lots of fancy people.
But money you have to give.
Yeah, that's the way given. Yeah. But there are ways when people.
You can't underpay people.
Right. And for that, you need cash in bank. For that, you need to have a great product, and need all getting connected. Right. So we would, there were few questions asked by my team, and this is also a question from my side. How you evolve your leaders? There's a journey from 0 to 1, 1 to 100, 100 to 1000. We are in that journey of 100 to 1000. There are people who've been with us for 8 years, 9 years. Very, very loyal, very good people. It's family, right? But probably the journey of 0 1 was different. And now we need people who probably evolve or probably need to ask them to.
I think the key is to make sure there's room for everyone. अगर नए लोग लाओ भी, make sure the old guy still has room.
And अगर old guy evolve नहीं हो रहे.
And हो जाएंगे evolve. Time. Maybe they're not evolving fast enough. 2 साल में हो जाएंगे.
So you are like totally with saying that asking people to leave is the last choice.
Absolutely last choice.
External factors, something which is not in their control, agree. But if, people are not evolving even after 2 years, or you feel that probably their journey...
Fortunately in our case, the organization has been growing fast and is therefore large enough to make room for everyone.
Or you say that you have, you were never chasing faster growth, you were chasing sustainable growth.
We've been chasing fast growth, ऐसी बात नहीं है. But
there's no case wherein people have not evolved and you finally your team have asked them to leave. No such cases.
I cannot recall any.
Massive. Because this is something now we are in the stage wherein I have a dream which I told everyone that whoever working with the early founding team, everyone should at least while working with us should build their own houses. Many have achieved, few have not. Everyone is with us, all the founding team, everyone. But there are few which probably now we are asking you guys either evolve, lots of chances will be given.
So here's the thing, right? If your business is growing fast enough, there will be newer opportunities opening internally. So we had Naukri, then we had 99 Experts, we had Shiksha, we had Jeevan Sathi, we had Naukri Gulf, right? We had the investing business, we had investing companies, and within each of these businesses, there were verticals, there were newer businesses coming up. So in Naukri, for example, there's Job Hai. There's a whole bunch of Zwayam, Do Select.
But people don't leave roles. Now people generally either people outgrow their roles or not able to evolve.
Well, I think it's about telling people that listen, this is a new opportunity, make it happen. So ultimately, new businesses happen because good people are running there.
Right.
So for example, we're doing really quite well in Job Hai. That was a brand new vertical 2 years ago, 3 years ago. We moved a high potential person.
Job Hai.
Okay. Job Hai is a blue collar initiative of ours.
Right.
ये नई चीज़ है 3 साल पहले. But a very high potential young person.
Right.
was moved to head that. Right? So,
You create.
and his team is now 50, 60, 100 people. So the new option is always, you see, if you are growing fast enough, if you're profitable, you are deploying that capital to build new businesses, there will be newer opportunities. It's when you run out of opportunities that you run out of space.
So then for opportunity, you need money. And then,
So we have that one.
okay, so someone like me, right, who believe, that we know few things in our ecosystem, wherein we are very focused on post-admission housing in this space. There, one set of my team, my investors on board says that probably, Saurabh, you need to be more focus on one country, focus on one product. And then as a founder, I believe that if we don't evolve, we will be redundant, because political changes, you need to, someone I'm very close to on the ground, speaking with students, parents and all. So there are opportunities which I see and I want to start, and we start. And then there is that, oh, you are opening new things, but have you penetrated?
It's about doing it sequentially. It's about doing it methodically. It's about doing it one at a time.
Yeah.
It's about getting on top of one thing, making a profit out of it, right? And making sure it's sustainable. Getting the right person in the right team there, and then say, okay, now we can do one more thing.
It takes lots of time. And
it does take some time.
When you are a venture backed or you aim to grow faster than the ecosystem, then, there's always time, money, and
अभी आपका turnover क्या है?
We are at 85 crores.
Growing
on
at
the group level.
Growing at what?
40%.
40% profitable.
Profitable.
So you should evaluate going public in a couple of years. Okay.
Absolutely with you.
And once you go public, all your shareholder agreements are off.
Yeah.
You're your own master,
Right.
and your own boss.
Yeah.
So you're flexible to do what you want.
And I've been blessed to have investors. A majority is with us. We have not raised. We have raised hardly money. We are bootstrapped in a way, right? But when you say public, now I'm dealing with, I want to create better PAT to create more value for my stakeholders, my early team members. And when I talk about go public and I want to increase my PAT, then we need to all involve. And probably we are doing 85
it's like this. So public markets will give you consideration that abhi PAT itna hai, but future mein
yeah.
ho jayega, because the growth is good. If you keep your growth intact and your margins intact and you have some PAT, you can go public.
Yeah, future multiple will jayega, right? So now coming,
and you don't have to maximize your valuation today.
Yeah. Valuation last thing, it's all about value creation, So एक चीज जो मैं आपके साथ probably मैं चाहता हूँ, मैं believe करूँ, but मेरा mind push करता है कि I don't want to be number one, I want to be last man standing, right? मैंने अपने आप
Well, to be last man standing, often you have to be number one.
Right, agree. But at time आप position में third से second से first आते हो ना, time लगता है, right?
जी.
But coming to your point, how important is it for a founder to be a great storyteller?
Yeah, I think a founder has to be great at creating trust across the tables. Now, trust with your co-founders, your colleagues, your investors, your customers, who you interact with, right? You may be renting a new office. You have to create trust across the table that you'll be an ethical tenant.
Right.
And you'll be a reliable tenant. And you have enough money to be paying your rent on time always. You have a sound business. Right? So, आपको हमेशा trust create करना है across the tables. And trust doesn't come out of thin air.
You have to live by.
Trust is, you say what you mean and you mean what you say and you walk the talk. And over time you build trust. You're fair and ethical in your dealings.
Right.
So you have to be the kind of person whom people can trust. And so storytelling is a very small part of it. The big one is, are you creating trust across the tables? Can you be trusted?
What's your view on AI in this, AI in education and AI overall? And again, I'll go back
to evolving. AI, it's opportunity, it's a challenge, it's a productivity tool. It can replace jobs, it can create new jobs,
Right.
All of this will happen. Right? What is clear is it's a very rapidly moving technology. So the changes हो रहे हैं, बहुत जल्दी हो रहे हैं.
Overnights.
Overnight नहीं, but कुछ महीनों में, चंद महीनों में, कुछ एक साल में, 2 साल में. right? And therefore, it's important that you're on top of it, stay ahead of it, and make it work for you. And in those areas where it's going to hurt you, make sure you take enough, action that it doesn't hurt you.
You are one of those who believe, team is a family.
Ideally, yes. As a team leader, that's what you got to work towards.
Right. And I mean, in your case, because as you mentioned, is there any family member working with you or have worked in your organization, knowingly or unknowingly, or on merit?
Not really.
Not really. So where I come in, because people feel that, team is a family. I say we should aim as an army, because family, if my brother is not probably performing, probably I will try to cover him up or save him up, right? And employee, I don't know, the word employee, I feel like, I don't know, it's been exploited in India or at least internationally. But we all say that, we need to be merit and everything, right? I can tell my team that we should be aiming to be an army, because army is the only unit which can give your life. And for that, you need to first take the bullet, right? So what's your way when you say, team is a family, and then AI coming in, wherein even if we don't want people to leave or ask them to leave, but you need to be a profitable business. So you need to create efficiencies.
So again, in a growing market, in a growing industry, in a growing company, you can find ways
to adopt AI.
Okay, so let me give you an example. One simple thing is, जो voice bot आ रहे हैं, they can replace the telecalling easily.
Yeah.
We have a large calling operation, right, to call up Naukri prospective clients. So when the voice bot came in, we could have replaced people. What we did was,
enabled them.
We are calling clients who are worth 1 lakh rupees a year or more. Right? Let's stay with that. But use the voice bots to call clients who are between 10,000 and 1 lakh rupees. So we enhance the calling effort rather than
replacing
people. Now that has given us growth.
Right. But कितने लोग हैं जो 1 लाख के ऊपर वाले, वो मार्केट तो छोटी होगी ना?
Not people. These are we're calling companies. Companies who can give us 1 lakh rupees.
Enterprise.
Yes.
But that will be infinite. That will be finite.
Not really. So देखो, हमारे 1,30,000 client हैं. Okay. We get inbound leads every day online.
Right.
Okay. So 1,30,000 में से होंगे करीब 15-20 हज़ार रुपया above 1 lakh.
Right.
Those we stayed with human beings. They want a relationship. The rest, we began to call through voice bots. So nobody got replaced.
Right.
वहाँ से growth आया.
And they get more bandwidth to do probably a higher ticket size deal.
That's right.
Optimize their value.
That's right. No. So abhi India is a young and growing economy. So if you have a little bit of imagination, you can find ways to harness AI without losing people.
Yeah. I agree. Totally. In fact, we have created an AI lab within university. We have created, in fact, we created a word first study about buddy for internet education, because we don't want to get you admission. But there are lots of miscommunication, misinformation around that. Is there any competition with LinkedIn and Naukri? I mean, this is coming on very naive point.
Well, no. So LinkedIn is a good website. We respect it. And several of our clients are also using LinkedIn. They use us. It looks like the use cases for LinkedIn are different from the use cases of Naukri. And we both coexist in the same clients. But
like how?
Therefore, if you want that one technical architect, of which there are 174 in all of India and 48 on LinkedIn and 12 on Naukri, you may go to LinkedIn first. But if you want to recruit 300 programmers this month, then you'll come to Naukri.
So LinkedIn is a premium solution.
It's not premium. LinkedIn is focused sniping.
LinkedIn is more individual networking and individual, and Naukri is more enterprise.
More
B2B, of course.
So both work.
Never thought of you acquiring them or vice versa?
We can't acquire them. They're too large. And, I don't know.
But with a vision like you, never came across your mind.
No. I think, and we are not interested in selling. So we'll neither buy nor sell.
So a bit of, let me, you are a man of few words. Let me try, to start with the rapid fire for 4 or 5 questions. And, which was the high point, Padma Shri or IPO?
Yeah, see, look, both are different. Padma Shri I was not expecting. IPO was planned.
Okay.
And Padma Shri, when it happened, the truth is, it's been given to me, but it's a consequence of everyone else.
I was expecting this answer from you.
Okay. So all of the winners मेरे को मिला है.
Right.
Right? IPO was different because it was a stage in the company. It was a natural milestone. Company का भी होना था. हो गया.
Impulsive or strategic?
Both. कभी strategy कभी impulsive.
कैसे switch on switch off करते हो? Situation basis.
नहीं, I don't switch on, वो अपने आप हो जाता है.
So how you say, me and my co-founder, so my co-founder is more strategic. He's more calm, I'm more impulsive, but I'm more thinker, long-term strategic. He's more doer, and I say I'm the face of the body, but together we complement, right? He is a great listener, and I believe, I might be wrong, that probably between me and him, I am more of the person who I don't shy to confront. I don't shy to ask, tough questions or even answer. So that's my natural extension, and I think I regret that probably I might be a better listener. Probably I need to be more calm down, take more, breathe and then answer, Your advice to me, all people like me.
Don't overthink it. Yeah, as long as
go with the flow.
As long as चल रहा है, as long as not creating a problem, don't overthink it.
Just go with the flow, take feedback, introspect.
Yeah, be normal, be natural, unless there are problems.
You need to open to be feedback. That's very
important. If it isn't broke, don't fix it.
तो पता क्या चलता है कि टूटने वाला है, क्योंकि कभी भी होता है ना कि
you will get feedback. Nothing breaks suddenly. You will get feedback.
Delhi always or Bangalore never. India जब बाहर चलो छोड़ देते हैं.
Well, I've not been traveling last few years because I've got a knee problem. I'll get that fixed, start traveling. But otherwise, I'd go where work took me.
But even to settle, like Delhi, चलो Silicon India नहीं करते.
वो दिल्ली करता हूँ बस. दिल्ली का हूँ.
दिल्ली का खाना पसंद है, हवा तो नहीं बोलने पसंद है.
नहीं, but देखो, I grew up in Delhi. See, I'm 62 years old. I spent 58 years.
कभी भी, not abhi. Like in last 30 years,
I've never thought about it.
You never thought that, when you were building a startup ecosystem, probably it was Bangalore first, then Delhi. Now though it thrive everywhere.
I've never thought I'd build startup ecosystem. वो अपने आप बन गई है. I've done my bit.
You have shaped lots of parts.
Not really, but
at least marketplace के लिए तो देखो मैं तो बहुत चीजें क्यों लेता हूँ, कि what's your view on this one, 19 acres?
I think great potential. I think it's finally begun to deliver results. Yeah, hopeful and confident next 2-3 years something will come to that.
But क्यों इतना grow नहीं हुआ जितना और marketplace हुआ है? Because कुछ तो आपने देखा होगा.
I think see the big thing in real estate is that your biggest competition is Facebook and Google. And so a lot of the builder budgets go towards those two platforms because they're doing a good job.
तो आपने कभी no broker नहीं सोचा कि पूरा end-to-end ecosystem बनाते हैं?
Well, that didn't occur to us and no broker came and did it. So now it is late. So
ये तो आपको आंसर पता है, वैल्यूएशन वर्सेस वैल्यू क्रिएशन, यू विल से वैल्यूएशन,
पहले से काम करो यार,
ये सब चीजें
वैल्यूएशन हो जाएगी.
How did you evolve the way you've been building now? Like again, you same answer, आप बोलोगे काम करते रहो, इतना मत सोचो.
So I didn't have a strategy. We just worked for the day, and over time things happened.
I don't know. एक जगह आप कह रहे हो कि you've been strategic, and you've been deep thinker. And
I don't say I'm deep thinker.
I feel so. I mean, इतनी सारी books पढ़ पाते हो कि
नहीं, I haven't read half these books, but I buy books. I think कभी ना कभी पढ़ूंगा. पढ़ा नहीं है.
So how are you consuming information?
A lot of it now is online. A lot of it is now on my mobile.
But you are an avid reader?
I am an avid reader, less and less so on of books, more and more so online.
And you still buy books. So ये दिखाने के लिए तो sorry,
नहीं, यार दिखाने के लिए है, but I mean, you name a book and I'll tell you the history why I bought it.
So what are your material possessions? You're not a monk who stole the Ferrari,
I never had a Ferrari.
but you can buy anytime, right?
But I don't want.
Why? What drives you? Oh, again, क्या वो drive क्या है?
A car is a means to get from
Utility.
point A to point B.
ठीक है, चलो गाड़ी हटा देते हैं. घर, you can stay in
Yeah,
Tamil Nadu, you can anywhere. You're
Yeah.
still choosing a place where there's a traffic or a parking issue. You know?
ठीक है यार. I have a lot of inertia. I don't like to change stuff.
I got that. You know, जब मैं आया तो मैं समझ गया था. You attach with people, you attach with memories. You are more a memory person.
People and memories both.
कोई material possession, vacations, anything which like you.
Well, when I couldn't afford them, I would want them. एक बार afford कर सका तो
चाम खत्म हो गई.
जरूरी नहीं है.
चाम खत्म हो गया. You're a vice chairman of InfoEdge. Why vice chairman? Sorry.
देखिए, I was chairman and managing director.
अच्छा. So you.
Then we were going public. I was told कि देखो chairman and MD role should be separated. It is better for governance. Investors view it more positively. So that's when I gave up chairman role. And I was MD and CEO. In 2010, Hitesh took over as MD and CEO. Now, I could have been a simple director, but I became vice chairman.
So who is the chairman now?
Mr. Kapil Kapoor, he's been the chairman since 2005.
So he's an independent director or no?
He's
Sorry.
non-exec, not independent.
How you decide? When did this struck to you that you should have an advisor board and you should have a independent directors, and how you choose?
So we don't have an advisory board.
Okay.
We've got independent directors, and the independent directors came on substantially when we were preparing to go public. So public आने के लिए आपको चाहिए होता है.
And कैसे choose करते हो आप?
We now have a NRC, a nomination recruitment, nomination and recruitment remuneration committee of the board, as per statutory requirements, and they decide.
उसमें आपका एक वीटो पावर कुछ
Veto भी है.
like not veto but एक vote होगा.
See, vote भी नहीं है. It's an informal consultation. Alright, the other independents know कि कोई नई independent director आएगा, they should get along at least with the executive directors. So it's not as if we have veto. It's not as if we say ये करो and वो कर देंगे.
It's a mutually decided.
It is something which they decide, but they do consult us.
Big teams or small teams, or big team or small team with laser focus.
It depends on the task at hand. So investment, small team.
Work-life balance or hustle humber.
Yeah, that is something that's out of your control.
नहीं, but
You would desire work-life balance, but work may demand that the balance is here, not there.
See, I can say again the big student, but I would like to age and grow like you, right? But in this era, because time has changed and evolved and all that, I still married to my company. My first daughter or my first kid is university living. Not that I'm like passionate or I'm like obsessed, but this is how I enjoy, right? But in that, I'm also unfair to my family, to my friends, and probably to myself.
Unfortunately, the job of a startup founder is such that to succeed,
Anyhow,
you often have to be obsessed.
right.
And that has not changed over the last 3-4 decades that I've been in startups.
तो फाउंडर को शादी नहीं करनी चाहिए.
No, that's not true. That's not true. I'm just
So
saying.
we are unfair to. I mean, I am guilty of not able to spend. मैं publicly इतना बोलूँ कि she supported me this and that, but mostly I was not there when she needed. And अभी भी हर साल ये होता है कि
Yeah, I'll tell you something. जो आर्मी का बंदा होता है, they get married, but for them it's a country first.
But it's unfair to their spouses and to their
Army
family.
people don't get married.
They do.
No, should they not? See, you should know what you're getting into.
But say, in my case, when I started, I told my father-in-law that see, I'm a banker. I'm quitting my job. I'm starting. They're like, okay, I'm good. But my wife is going through that 10 years, wherein she was supporting. Most of the things are ups, but there are downs which are really down. And then I question that.
So hopefully downs will reduce as you are more successful, because at least financially.
Yeah. But even financially, emotionally, at least my.
Yeah, look, it's a hard one. I don't have a perfect answer. But the truth is, entrepreneurs need very understanding families.
And then you need to work on it, because not every day there's a red button and red flag every day. If that's happening, then probably something wrong.
Yeah.
Talking about Ashoka University, I know a few people. I've been working with few of them. Lots of respect, and in probably 5-7 years, 8 years?
I think the first undergrad batch went in 2014. For 3-4 years before that, we had run the YIF, but not at the university.
Why
Young India Fellowship.
Okay.
Postgraduate.
Okay.
Right? So we began talking about Ashoka University for the project in 2007. So the first conversation happened in 2007. वहाँ से हुए 18 साल. First course prior to university, 2010-11, certificate program. First entry batch of the university, 11 years ago. First graduation, 2017, 8 years ago, of the university, undergrad.
आइडिया क्या था? मतलब
आइडिया था कि
इंडिया में है नहीं अच्छी यूनिवर्सिटीज, नहीं है.
आइडिया ये था कि देखिए, इंडिया हैज मोर और लेस सॉल्व्ड द इंजीनियरिंग कॉलेज प्रॉब्लम
ऑन पेपर.
सर आईआईटी बहुत बढ़िया है, एंड आई थिंक दैट्स
कोशिश नहीं है ना.
नो दैट्स ओके. जस्ट वांट टू एक्सपेंड दैट मॉडल. इट्स नॉट अ न्यू मॉडल नीडेड.
हाँ ठीक है, एग्री. ओके,
ठीक है. वी सॉल्व्ड द मैनेजमेंट स्कूल प्रॉब्लम. सिमिलरली, unsolved problem was the regular graduation, liberal arts and social sciences and sciences, very social and sciences, and that's what we wanted to solve with a new model.
So why liberal arts, why social sciences? Because in this,
it's an unsolved problem.
Why you guys?
I had been through liberal arts. Ashish had been through liberal arts. Undergrad में we knew the problem है.
And like, how did all came together?
Long story. पहले मैं आशीष के पास गया, मैंने बोला डेफिनेटली चालू करते, इट्स अ गुड आइडिया. फिर हम औरों को ढूंढा, फिर प्रमोद सिन्हा के पास गए. प्रमोद सिन्हा के पास गए. प्रमोद had set up ISG.
Yeah.
Then Pramod got in.
It was the gentleman who came in.
That's right.
Yeah.
And फिर हम औरों के पास गए. फिर IIT के लोग ज्वाइन किए. विनीत गुप्ता, अश्विन मिश्रा, others. तो ये मूवमेंट बढ़ती गई.
But the idea कैसा था?
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not asking you to take credit or not take credit. In your case, you will not take credit. तो आपका idea था.
The original thought was came from me to Ashish. Ashish liked it. He adopted it. Thomas liked it. And the idea evolved. So जो original idea था और जहाँ अशोका पहुँची है, is traversed a huge distance. So everybody kept adding to the idea. So the idea evolved. The first suggestion may have come from me.
क्या challenges? Because university.
I think so resources. I think regulation.
Yeah.
Regulatory, getting clearances. I think execution, getting faculty, people, students, building, project, construction.
Is university a real estate game? Is a education game, or what?
I think it's about education. The core is great students, great faculty. आप उनको
वो भी मार्केट प्लेस ही है.
आप
You need good faculty to get.
उनको तंबू में बढ़ाओ.
हाँ, but
it doesn't matter. But great students, great faculty.
But वो तंबू में बढ़ाओगे, फिर लोग भी आप तंबू वाले करोगे, फिर पैसे नहीं मिलेंगे, फिर ग्रो करने में और टाइम लगेगा.
See, the issue is not that here. The issue is, all I'm saying is, real education is about interactions, knowledge sharing, learning. For that, you need great students, great faculty.
तो भी मार्केट प्लेस है.
Well,
so you need good faculty to attract good students.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it a marketplace. I would say that it's a mixing of minds.
क्या प्रॉब्लम हुआ रेगुलेशन में?
कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं हो.
But time लगा जो लगा.
I mean, you got to go through
जो time लगा.
You can't just start a university and give a degree here. You need government clearances.
अभी क्या status है, like how, if you want to tell more about Ashoka?
3,000 students, growing every year.
And you're not playing. You're not playing number games.
100. Well, we are going for a certain scale, but it's not 50,000, 100,000 students.
उस वाले price point में हो भी नहीं पाए. Are you substituting?
It's not about price point. It's about beyond that scale, can you execute to quality?
Like ISB.
ISP is a certain scale, yes. But this will be about maybe 2,000 students a year at full scale.
Is it your attempt or answer to better international education in India?
Well, one aspect was that देखो कितना foreign exchange हम होते हैं by students going abroad. If you could provide the same quality in India at 1/4 the price.
Right. And then we can also have a
the
better
value
soft power.
Yeah.
If you go that level, I mean, that's a different discussion. I am not divulging. Probably next time if you give me time, we can talk about how US have created the soft power, which now India started building.
It's not the aim or the objective to create soft power.
Not from Ashoka, but from India point of view, yes, why not?
The aim and objective is to create a high quality education institution or on a new model which hopefully gets emulated and scales up nationally. Because Hindustan में क्या होता है ना, when you do something good, it gets copied. तो सरकार ने 5 IT चालू हुई. There are now 4,000 engineering colleges. वो कामयाब हुए, उनकी ग्रेजुएट कामयाब हुए. सरकार ने 3 IIM चालू किए. Now there are 3,000 management schools. उनकी ग्रेजुएट कामयाब हुए. So अगर अशोका कामयाब होगा, क्योंकि हो रहा है, हो चुका है.
तो वैसे आ रहे हैं.
Hopefully others will copy.
And that's a problem. That's a good problem to have in India because there's a consumption. You can start anything you do good. It can scale.
It can scale, yes.
Then, sir,
thank you.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
I hope I have not offended you and
not at all, yeah.
I don't bore you.
It was a great conversation.
You are giving me most important part of your time, life, which is your time. Thank you for giving me that currency.
Not at all, yeah. Thank you so much.
It's a Sunday morning, so I have full day to introspect and reflect on this conversation. So much to learn. How can one be so humble yet so ambitious? I have been meeting lots of leaders, and I have spoken with lots of their team members. The kind of respect, the kind of love he generated, pure love, genuinely love, without any pretense, and he is what he is. If you can't do it now, you can't do it ever. If we can't build for India, for the world, or even for India, this is a time to, whether you want to start, whether you want to be part of the same company, build with your founders, build with your team. This is that time. You can make it big. As I say, live, learn, achieve, stay happy. Try to build alone or with anyone, but keep creating value and stay humble. Hustle, humble. Thank you so much.